Good morning, everyone. I'm in Brooklyn now, celebrating the last Sheva Brachot, 7 days of festivities for the bride and the groom, for Malka and Shneki. And last night at the Sheva Brachot dinner, there were beautiful words of Torah spoken. And one of the speakers asked the following question. The Talmud says, Invei hagefen be'invei hagefen, davar na'a u'miskabel, which means the fruit of the vine with the fruit of the vine is a beautiful and acceptable marriage. What it's saying is that when two beautiful families and a beautiful bride and a groom get married, it's a beautiful connection, and it's compared to the fruit of the vine with the fruit of the vine. Invi hagefen be'invi hagefen. And the question is, why is it compared to the fruit of the vine? What is it about grapes that we compare a beautiful marriage to fruit of the vine blending with fruit of the vine? And he gave a beautiful answer. And he said that in Jewish law, there are different blessings for different foods. So, for example, when you eat a fruit of the tree, you make a blessing, Borei Priya Eitz, thanking God for making the fruit of the tree. But what happens when you squeeze an orange or another fruit and you make juice out of it? Then the blessing is downgraded. No longer do you make a Borei Priya Eitz, you make a blessing of Shahakol Niyah B'Dvaro, that everything was created by God's speech. However, there's one fruit that's an exception, and that is grapes. When you squeeze a grape and you make grape juice or wine, then the blessing is upgraded, not to shahakol, but it goes from being a borei pri eitz, the fruit of the tree, to borei pri hagafen, the fruit of the vine. And this is the message for the bride and the groom, that in marriage, the way to upgrade yourself, the way to elevate yourself is by squeezing yourself, meaning when you go out of your way, when you go out of your comfort zone, when you show humility to please one another, to give to one another, to show kindness and love to one another, even if it means that you have to squeeze yourself a little bit, that you have to sacrifice. That is the way you turn the fruit of the vine into the borei pri hagafen, that it goes from being a borei pri eitz to hagafen. And I once heard something beautiful about the word hagafen. Gafen, vine, is spelled Gimel Pei Nun, which stands for gesund, health, parnasa, livelihood, and nachat, joy and pride and happiness from our children. And perhaps this is the blessing, that by a husband and wife giving to one another selflessly and making sacrifices to one another and showing humility towards one another, to be able to live harmoniously and lovingly with one another, they squeeze that vine and they create hagafen. They create the blessings of health, sustenance, and beautiful children, which comes from building a beautiful marriage. Because when children see a beautiful home and beautiful role models, parents who love each other and give selflessly to one another, then that is the source of all the blessings in their life. And that is also the message of the opening word of this week's Torah portion in the book of Vayikra, the third book of the Torah, which the last letter is an aleph, and it's spelt in a miniature small font. And a rabbi say that Moses, out of his humility, didn't want to write that God called him specifically, so he wrote a small aleph, once again teaching us that our greatest leader Moses had the trait of humility. True story that happened in Israel. There was a couple that got married, and during the 7 days of celebration, the bride lost her diamond ring. And she was humiliated. The whole family was talking behind her back. What kind of a bride? She loses her ring in the first week of marriage. The poor girl was devastated. And the couple was very disappointed. It sort of created this sadness in the middle of their celebration. About a year later, the groom is putting on a coat that he wore on the night of the wedding, and he puts his hand in the pocket and he discovers the diamond ring. And he's overjoyed to find it, and his wife is hilariously joyous. And she says, "What's going on?" And he says, "Oh, I wore this on the night of the wedding, and when we were in the hotel, I wanted to hide the ring from the cleaning people. You had left it on the nightstand, so I put it in the pocket and I forgot." And they called the whole family and they were so happy. And now he was the shlamazel who forgot to tell his wife that he hid it in his coat pocket. The wife was so happy to have her ring back. A few months later, she was cleaning up the house and going through one of his drawers, and there in the drawer, she discovers, tucked beneath his pile of papers, a receipt. And it was a receipt from a jewelry store, the date that he found the ring. She finds a receipt for a diamond ring that he had purchased in a jewelry store from money that he had spent a year saving. And she realized that he had saved up, bought her a new ring, but didn't want to just give her a new ring. Wanted to take away her shame of being the girl who lost the diamond ring and put the shame on him for forgetting to tell her that he hid it in his coat pocket. When she saw this receipt from the jewelry store hidden in his drawer, she began to cry tears of joy, realizing what a mensch, what a fine person she was married to, a person who had the humility to make such a sacrifice to restore his wife's honor and dignity. That is the message of the fruit of the vine, and the fruit of the vine, which not only pertains to marriage, but to every relationship. The more we squeeze ourselves, the more we are willing to compress our ego and give kindly, lovingly, and generously to one another, the more we will experience blessings of gafen, gesund, health, parnasah, sustenance and livelihood, and nachas, joy and pride in our children. Have a wonderful day.